Hello, welcome to Birding 101. My name is Tyler, and I'll be guiding you through this virtual experience. Today, we'll be focusing on beginner birding and setting the foundations for bird identification. Throughout this presentation, I will be giving you time to pause the video to answer questions that I may ask or just some time to think. Feel free to take as much time as you need until you want to resume the video. So turn that bird brain on and let's get started. My name is Tyler Cash, and I'm an environmental educator for the Bird Conservancy of the Rockies, and I will be your presenter for this virtual experience today. The Bird Conservancy of the Rockies is a conservation nonprofit organization. Our mission at the Bird Conservancy is to conserve birds and their habitats through an integrated approach of science, stewardship, and education. So first off, what makes a bird a bird? Think about the last time you saw a bird. What did you notice about that bird? What characteristics do you think are specific to birds? Press pause and take a moment to brainstorm or write down what makes a bird a bird. So birds have very unique characteristics. They have feathers, which keep them warm and help them fly. They are warm-blooded, so they generate their own heat just like us. Birds also have semi-hollow bones, which make them light enough to fly. Even if we had wings and feathers and our bones were not hollow like birds, we would not be able to fly. They also have talons, which allow them to catch prey or perch on trees. All birds have wings, but not all birds actually fly. There are flightless birds. Birds also use their tail to steer when they are in flight or to balance when they're perched. Birds also lay eggs, and these are just some of the amazing adaptations that birds have that help them survive. So I just used an interesting word, adaptation. So what is an adaptation? Take a second, you can pause the video and brainstorm. What do you think an adaptation is? An adaptation is a physical or behavioral characteristic that helps an animal better survive in its environment. If we think back to the list that we just made of all those adaptations, all of those characteristics that help birds survive, those are all adaptations. Without them, that bird would not be able to survive. So if a bird didn't have feathers, it would not be able to survive. So they need all of these characteristics to help that animal. We're now going to learn about the steps that we use in order to identify the birds that we see. So birds are all around us. We see them everywhere. So we want to be able to identify them and know what they're like. So just like humans, we all have unique names, and so do birds. The first step is you need to locate the bird. Find that bird wherever it may be. The bird could be in a tree or flying high overhead. Then you want to figure out the size of that bird. Is it bigger than a crow, or is it smaller than a robin? What is the most noticeable thing that you notice about that bird? Is it really bright? Does it have a white crown? Are their wings really big? You then want to observe the bird's overall shape. So we like to say you want to start at the head and then work your way down. So remember that by going from the beak to the feet. What is noticeable about the bird's head? Does it have stripes or an eye ring? Maybe it has a crest or a mohawk. So really observe that bird's shape. And then we work our way down through the bird's body and their tail. So what do you notice about the bird's wings or their tail? Birds have different colors on their wings, which we call wing bars or wing patches. And their tails also come in all shapes and sizes. As we can see in this picture of this bird below, it has kind of a forked like tail with those long outer tails and that short middle tail. After getting a good look about what the bird looks like, you want to watch the bird's behavior. So what is it doing? It may be on the ground or it may be in a tree, for example. You also want to look at the habitat that bird is in. Are you in your park or your backyard, or maybe you're in the forest or on a lake? Once that bird is flown away, or you got a really good look at the bird, you then want to open your field guide and try to identify it. So a field guide is a dictionary to birds. It helps us identify a bird and give that bird a name. You can use an app that's called Merlin on your phone. You can also ask maybe an experienced birder you may know, or you can even use the internet to help you identify a bird. When you're narrowing down your identification, you want to be sure to look at the range map. The range map tells you what time of year a bird is in a specific area. A lot of birds migrate, so you can only see them during certain times of the year. Some birds actually stick around all year. It just matters where you are and if that bird has everything it needs in order to survive. So if you live in Colorado, you want to be sure that you're looking at the state that you're in and then looking at those colors like we see on this picture, knowing when that bird, what time of year that bird can actually be seen. And that will help you narrow down which species you're trying to identify. Now we're going to apply the skills we just learned, and we're going to identify some common birds that we find in North America. If you don't know what type of bird that is okay. What I want you all to do is you will write down all the things that you notice about the bird, and you can ask for help. I will give you a few moments to observe this bird. Feel free to press pause if you want more time. This bird is called a red-winged blackbird, and you can usually see red-winged blackbirds near water or on reeds. And this bird is actually named for the way that it looks. So that's why it's really important to look at the most noticeable thing about this bird. I noticed this nice red patch on its wing and that the bird is overall black. This bird is actually named after the way it looks, a red-winged blackbird. Here's our next bird. So now, write down everything that you notice about this bird. I'll give you a few minutes to observe it and try to identify it. So feel free to press pause now if you need more time. This bird is called an American kestrel. It is the smallest North American falcon, and you can also see them perched on telephone poles or on fence lines, especially if you're driving on roads with wide open country. So here's our last bird that we're going to identify today. So write down everything that you notice about this bird, and just like with the other ones, I will give you a few moments to observe this bird. Feel free to press pause now if you need more time. So this bird is called a snowy egret. And I observed that this bird is mostly white. It has black legs and yellow feet, as well as a black bill. So you may have observed those too. This bird can usually be seen in shallow water or flying overhead. Thank you so much for learning about bird identification. I hope you take your new skill and practice on the birds you see around your house. Birding takes time and practice to get good at, so get outside when you can and observe the diversity of birds. Keep in touch with us. If you want to learn more about bird identification or you want if you want a live program, feel free to go onto our Facebook page or go to our website or even shoot us an email if you have any questions. So thank you for tuning into this virtual program. I hope you learned something about bird identification, and I hope you share that with others.